was one of the first two SNCC field workers in the state of Mississippi. And one thing that he always brings is his story, and he also brings the gift of song. So Hollis, we like to bring you up. We want you to lead us in the song and then take us to the place where those songs meant the most. So, welcome Mr. Hollis.
First, give honor to Almighty God. It's good to be here to see smiling faces, faces that's not smiling. It's good to be able to see faces. If you can see faces, that means that you are alive. So I'm thankful to be able to be here and be alive. I know a lot of people have talked and you've heard a lot of things said. So I can't tell you all about my life and my story because it would take too long, because that extends over 50 years. And I wouldn't want to attempt to hold you here to take you through all of that. So what I will do is just talk briefly about a few things that I experienced, a little bit about where I experienced them, and also invite all of you to join me and the rest of us in singing a few of the songs. But right now, since I mentioned songs, let me see the hands of those that can sing. It always gets a lot of because I know I don't ask it in the way that I should ask it to get the true answer. Because to get the true answer, I should ask the question. To see the hands of those who have never, at any point in time in their life, attempted to sing at least one line of any verse of any song. If you have not done that, then I'll accept you not being a singer. Otherwise, I know you can sing. I'm the youngest of 12 children. My parents were sharecroppers, when I was born. A lot of work went on in the school. At the time when I was growing up, Mississippi was more so a segregated place than it is today. Racism prevailed. Fear permeated the community. Not just the black community, but the white community as well. There was the thing that was called knowing your place. Black folks had a place, and white folks had a place. So you needed to know where your place was. And you'd hear a lot of the older people say to the young ones, don't you get out of your place now. Because once you got out of your place, then you could be facing a very dangerous situation. Just to let you know a little bit of what I'm talking about is, as a young black man, we were taught that if you're walking down the sidewalk and you met a white man, you stepped off to the side and you bow your head until he passed. Because if you didn't do that, you would be getting out of your place. And by not doing that, you were making yourself available to be kicked, to be slapped, and even severely beaten, and in some cases put in jail. And if it was a white woman, you definitely had to do that, because the stakes got higher if you didn't do it for a white woman. Because if it was a white woman, all of the things that I mentioned could possibly happen, but a third thing could possibly happen, is that you could be put in jail and killed. Why? Because if she decided that you eyeball raped her, then that meant, in all probability, you would be killed. Expressions on the face says, man, talking about eyeball rape, what is he talking about? Yeah, it's just that easy, because it doesn't take much to eyeball rape someone. Matter of fact, since I first mentioned the word eyeball raped, I have basically eyeball raped every female that is that exists out there. Simply a matter of looking in the face of a white woman that could get you put in jail and possibly killed. So, that's what Mississippi was like when I was young, growing up. Had to walk to school nearly 3 miles before I could get to the school, while the white children rode the buses, passed right by us, passed right by our school, but we had to walk. There were no public libraries that we could attend. Other parts of the state in the Delta area, they divided the school year by where during the time when it was cotton picking time or working the fields, black children could not go to school at all. They closed the schools down because working in the field took precedent over that. So these are the kinds of things that I grew up having to experience and go through, not knowing and understanding what was really happening. It's been said that I got involved with SNCC in an effort to attempt to find Dr. Martin Luther King and ran up on Bob Moses. I was ready and prepared for some kind of action. So as he said, Bob had something for me to do, and I was ready to accept that kind of responsibility. That was another thing that we were minded of as black children, and that was to not be indecent. If you had on a short sleeve shirt and it didn't come down to your elbows, then you could possibly be picked up for being indecent. If you wore a shirt that came too far down, then you could be arrested for being indecent. So it was hard for us, but we persevered, went on, accepted that. When I got involved in the movement, I got in basically because of the motivation that I got from my father. My father always said to me and the rest of his boys, said, you must stand up for what is right, even if you are the only one standing. I looked and I saw all of the things that I knew was not right, and I started wondering, how in the world can I stand up against and for all of these different things? So, these phones will go off and ring. I got one that will do that, and I have to keep it where I know when it rains. I say that because I have a situation where my wife has cancer, and we've been battling cancer on her behalf for the last 18 years. So I don't know when she's calling me, so it's all right, and I have to get the others that's a part of that. So I got involved in the civil rights movement. I first got involved in the civil rights movement in 1959 with Medgar Evers as a part of the youth chapter of the NAACP. And then got involved with SNCC in 1961 when I went venturing. Excited, waiting to see Dr. Martin Luther King. Realized that someone had done as the song said, go down Moses, way down in Mississippi, and tell old Barnett to let my people go. So I hooked up with it. We began to work on voter registration, trying to get our people registered to vote. Then later got involved in having a sit-in demonstration because the eating facilities were not open to us. And that opened the door for me having the opportunity to be blessed to go to jail for trying to make things better. You know, there were tricks and traps that people attempted to set up for me while I'm in jail. You know, that which we saw from the 3 civil rights workers in 1964. And as the record projects them, it projects it incorrectly. It says the 3 summer volunteers. But we must know that Mickey Swarm and James Chaney were not summer volunteers. They were people that were already working here in Mississippi at that time, had gone to Oxford with a number of others of us to help provide the training for the summer volunteers to come. Andrew Goodman was a volunteer that came early, coming back to Mississippi with them. So when we read and hear about the 3 summer volunteers, just know that that's a little incorrect in terms of, you know, because a lot of writers get on. They leave a little bit out, don't get it exactly right. So, you know, we excuse them for that because they do the best they can. But when they were arrested, they were tricked. They were turned loose in the middle of the night, thinking that they would not be followed or apprehended. That was a trick. They attempted to set up a trick for me the first time I got in jail. And the first trick they set up for me was they turned a white woman loose in the hall in front of my cell. She came in staggering. She couldn't hardly stand up, cursing the police officers and talking about how they had beat her. And she wanted to show me where they had beat her all over her body and the bruises that was on. So she came to the front of my cell and invited me to come to look. But being a young black man from Mississippi, when she came to the front of my cell, I rushed to the back and said, no, I don't want to see, that's you and them. And since I didn't fall for the trick, they called her and told her to come on out right now. Now, she came into the cell walking like this, couldn't hardly stand up. But when they called her and told her to come on out, she came out. Walking like this. That was the trick. What was the trick? For those that don't see and understand the trick, had I come to the front of my cell, to observe the supposed bruises on her. All she had to do was to reach through the bars and grab me and scream. I would have been a black man that would have been charged with attempting to rape a white woman while in jail, which would have been a death sentence for me. So I'm thankful that I had enough knowledge and understanding about what was going on in the state of Mississippi that I didn't fall for that. Another trap that was set for me had to do with the jailer coming to me one day and saying, "Hollis, since you have been a good nigger, we're going to let you go." I asked him, I said, "Who put up my bond money?" They said, "Nobody. We're just going to let you go because you've been a good nigger." I said, "The system in Mississippi don't work like that. I'm going back in jail." So I went back and turned, and as I turned to go back into the jail, he told me to stop right there. Don't make another step. And he began to curse me and say, "You better be glad that you didn't walk down the steps, because if you had, I was going to whistle. And those boys was going to bring the dogs out, and the dogs were going to have dinner in your backside." And he whistled. And sure enough, 2 black men came from around the side of the building with bloodhound dogs. And he began to tell me how the dogs would have eaten my backside had I walked down the step. See, I wasn't thinking about the dogs so much, but I was thinking about the times when I had heard about them telling other black men that they had the right to leave. And as they began to leave, they were shot in the back and killed, and said they had to shoot them to keep them from escaping. So the tricks, the traps were all around us. I ended up having to go to the county farm in Mississippi where I worked on what at that time was known as the chain gang. We spent several days working on the chain gang. Then I saw where white people who had guns pointed in my face saying, "Yes, this is the nigga I am going to kill." The question is whether I want to shoot his brains out or his guts out. Having to deal with that situation, I decided that I would go on a hunger strike. I went on a hunger strike, went 10.5 days without eating any food. They transferred me, along with some others, to the Mississippi State Penitentiary. I spent 55 days in the Mississippi State Penitentiary in maximum security unit on death row, was threatened to be carried to the end of the row where they had the electric chair every day, was handcuffed to the bars. They decided that they wanted to put a number of us into what they call the hole, solitary confinement. They put 14 of us in the hole. The hole was a 6x6 concrete cell. Only place you could get air was a small crack underneath the door. It got so hot until sweat was running down the 4 corners of the wall. The entire wall was wet from the ceiling all the way to the floor, with the exception of about 2 feet. We were all blessed that we didn't die from carbon monoxide poison. And even when I was in the regular cell on death row, they took away the sheets, the pillows, the pillowcase. They took away the blankets, the mattress. You had a choice: sleep on the steel bunks or the concrete floor. So I used both of my choices. A certain number of days I sleep on the bunks. A certain number of other days I would sleep on the concrete floor. Because, you know, messing with your mind still seems to be hard after a few days. You get on the concrete floor. A day or so, it seemed a little bit softer than the steel, and then your mind says, you must be crazy. This is hard too, so you get back on the steel. So I did that, you know, switch and swapping game for 55 days. Was handcuffed to the bars. Threatened, as I said, to be carried to the other end of the room. So these are just a few of the things that I experienced, went through. I know you might have questions, but I want to save a little time, answer questions you might have, and then invite you to join me in singing a few songs. Songs were used to not only deliver the message, but songs were used to uplift and motivate us to do the work that needed to be done for us to face the challenges that we were confronted with. Standing up for that which was fair, standing up for that which was right, standing up for justice. As the voice of my father would always say, you stand up for it, even if you were the only one standing. So I was attempting to give honor to my father and obeying him and doing those things. So maybe you have a couple questions that you want to ask me. So everybody couldn't say this verse, but I'm thankful that I got to the point where I could say it, so I added this verse to the song. And it went like this. I'm sitting